makeup.
Oh, how about that? Please don't do that. We're making here.
Makeup time. We don't have a big budget, so we don't have makeup artists here yet. Putting our foundation on all that stuff that
I'm never doing that.
Yes, he will.
This is what you get.
One day he will.
No, I will not.
He will.
You see, he's got me eating an apple.
I got you eating nothing. He said, "Oh yeah, well, it's
I
healthy."
asked for truffles and cookies, and he said, "Man, you better have an apple."
I want you to live longer, man. I want you to live for your kids, man. Live to be an old man, raising helping your kids. Take care of your
worry about that. We need to have a buffet.
All right, let's start the show. So, welcome to, I believe this is our 8th episode of The Moment of Men, where we talk about men's issues, relationship issues, strengthening men, partnering with men, and really just pouring into men. And so my name is Shawn Sims. This is my brother Charles Williams. So what's up? And we're going to be talking about a topic today. Why don't you spit out the topic while I pull it up? Unless you need me, because I got it up right here. All right.
So,
wow, he smacks in the microphone while he eats his healthy apple. Because my brother is slimming down. He's losing weight. He's taking care of his body. So yes, yeah. Go ahead.
You see how he just called me fat?
I ain't say you was fat.
He said my brother is.
I just smacked, for those people who can't see, I just smacked his apple out of his hand, trying to talk, big up his tummy, his abs that he's got, man. He's been working out. His Peloton, you should see it. His Peloton is right behind us, and he's been on his bike riding, and he loves it. So we got to go shopping for a bike soon. Get him to a bike store and get him out on the road. That's what I do. I love to cycle. So. Yeah. And one day we just have to have a show that tells our story, like each individually or together, just so the audience gets to know where we come from and why we know where our perspectives come from and why we say and do the things that we do. We have to do that. So that'll be another show coming soon. So
make a request and we'll do it.
It's not a request. I'm telling you, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. People want to know. People want to know.
I don't care.
Yes, they do. They want to know your background. They want to know your history. Yes, you do. Too much our audience wants to know where we come from.
Okay.
Like he's Jamaican, and that whole culture is different. I'm African American, but I love my Caribbean culture. I love my brothers. When I went to FAMU, I surrounded myself, and it was
we are all African Americans. We are all Africans living in America, right?
Yeah.
So let us define.
But this is not that show. This is not that show. I'm just telling you that just our differences that we our backgrounds we come from.
Well, let's do this.
Yep.
So the topic today is, why do some people beg for everything and settle for nothing, yet the people who get everything beg for a situation where they received nothing? So let's get into it. So what that means is you'll have a man or a woman, right? And our job is moment of men. So we are fair to both sexes, but our primary goal is to speak on behalf of men, or to speak and really give that definitive moment, like, hey, because men are not heard. And oftentimes when a man is heard and a difference of opinion that differs from social norm, he's ridiculed or taught that he's not. But then when you do that, you isolate the real you isolate an important aspect of the real conversation. So what we're saying is some men will give a woman everything, right? And when she's had very little. And then you find yourself giving and giving and giving, and the more you give, the more it seems like she's predicated on a situation where she had nothing. So when she gets nothing, and for someone when they get nothing, they're begging for a man to give them everything. And I'm not talking about material things. Wipe that off the table, because that's the first thing people go to.
They're going to say, I ain't asking no man to give me nothing.
No, we're not talking about
that. I got my own.
Right, we're talking
That's
about...
That's a bad attitude to have anyway.
Right,
but
because you got your own, then if you have your own and I have my own, right? If we can't bring it together, what good is owning anything if I can't share it with you?
So it's that at that point you're not engaging in oneness, you're engaging in separateness. Mm-hmm. And so you got yours, he got his, and we do our things separately, but we just call ourselves married or in a relationship. Something.
I don't understand that. Like I have. Research have shown that, surprisingly enough, for a Christian, I was disappointed that it's not even that um, adultery is the greatest cause of divorce is finances.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, I was still confused by that because I thought that when you marry two become one, like, hey, hon, this is what I got, this is what I got. I need this a month to really get the things that I need. What do you need? Okay, let's put this together to make sure our family and as collectively we get this. Because I just feel like not that, and I'm not saying finances or everything, right? But I feel like if I'm able to do the same things I was doing with before you, why do I need you? And I don't mean I'm talking about like trips and all that stuff, but I'm talking about like if I'm running and doing everything while you're there, or if I am cooking, doing the laundry, and I'm still doing the things that I was doing, like, and I have no break and no time, and I'm still doing the same exact things that I was doing before you. Why do I?
So
Why
you're
am I here?
so what you're saying is that you're doing all of these things now. When you have a partner that wants to step into your life, they should be willing to help you out and take some of those things off of your plate.
But not just take them off of our plate, um, because it's the right thing. You have to want to do it.
Well, yeah, but then and a person that wants to do it has that type of personality, right? So they will show you their personality in doing those things without them asking without them receiving anything in return. And so we were talking about this last night at my men's ministry. We were talking about just the Bible. Jesus says on the Sermon on the Mount talks about you know when you give, don't give and boast about you giving, right? It's give in secret, because your Father who sees you will reward you in heaven.
Right.
And so, you want to have that type of servant leadership or a servant heart, that when you step into a person's life, you want to serve them. And it can go both ways. It can go, men, I know I love serving and I love serving my wife. I love serving my family and my kids. And so I have a servant heart. I'm a servant leader in my church. And so I serve. Like, that's my thing. Love to serve. Love to help people out. Love to give my voice and my talents wherever I can, whenever I can. And I believe that that's my gift. And like, God gave me that gift, and I'm going to move forward His kingdom by helping others and lending my gift to others. And I think when you're in a relationship, you can automatically tell if that person is doing those things for you. Number one, if they're doing them for you. Number two, if they're doing them for you because they truly care about you and want to serve you, not that they expect something in return.
Right. Well, like I always say, for me, if I'm in a relationship, there's automatically going to be things that's just going to be done. And I'm the kind of guy, I don't need to remind you of what I do, right? There's the song Natalie Cole always says, I'm catching hell. And she said, and I love it. I love this when a song, and most modern women may not like this, but as a man, I love because it's just like, oh my God, like a woman who recognizes. And she was like, whatever you do, don't let him leave you, honey. You won't notice what he does. Like the little things like taking out the trash and taking care of the bills and taking care of the things. She says that's basically like you'll miss him, right? And in that song, it looked at, and I always take pride in that. I was like, if I see you and I need a new car, right? You are carting the kids around more so.
He said a new car for those who didn't know what he was saying because of the Jamaican accent. Go ahead.
Was that not clear? I speak perfect English. Stop this. We're not going to make
Go ahead. You said if a person needs a new car.
Needs a new car.
Right. Lady's like, yes!
No.
Price is right. I hit the lottery. He going to give me a new car. That's right.
No, listen. If she needs a new car, right? And the thing goes, if we both need a new car and if she's carting the children around and doing all the things as such, then the decision will always be in my heart that she comes first.
Right.
Because she has to serve the children, right? And with that being said, in order for her to properly serve as my wife or my partner, right?
Right.
She has to be able to effectively be able to take care of the children. So if she's carting the children,
your children,
yes,
yes,
rather it's my children.
I don't know.
If I'm together and she is her children and my children are grown, I don't function in that space.
Right.
The way I function, if I'm with you, I love everything that comes with you.
Right.
So I will find a way to love what comes with you, even if what comes with you don't like me, right? Because I love you and you are my primary goal, and my goal is to live a life with you. I will learn to love what you love. I may not understand everything.
Right.
I'll walk me through it. Well, but we're building a life together. When you're doing life with someone, there's complications that you have to be ready for. And you got to understand too that all the outside elements, and this is what I tell you, like women who have, like I remember as a nurse, you work with nurses and you hear them say stuff, and I don't talk much and I don't get into gossip and foolishness and buffoonery, so I'm sometimes just there doing my notes, and you'll hear the ladies say, "Oh, you're like one of the girls," and so they'll talk about stuff, right? And I say, as long as you don't, when you get that right, you don't get that conflated or confused with the idea that I'm one of the girls. Certain stuff I just really don't get involved in, right? And then listen, and every once in a while I ask for my opinion. If it's too much where it's too personal, I get out of it, right?
Right.
But you hear so many of them have so much, and yet they're complaining to girls who have nothing, right? You got a girl who picked a guy who from his mama's couch, or who lived in his mama's basement, who didn't have, and it's not to say that a guy who's living in his mama's is gonna have dreams, right?
Right. Or goals or aspirations.
Right. But you pick a guy whose basic dream was to be a gamer and sit on your couch and to get. I know this is Christian show, forgive me, but I have to make this point, right? But he's to play some video games, get some pussy, go to work as much as he has to, and go home. Right. And nothing wrong with that. That's his goal. But you're trying to make him something he's not, right? Right. Then because you want a man that's about something, so you try to turn something into nothing. And sometimes for amazing women it works, right? But other times when it doesn't, you didn't blame all men. And then it's like we all become dogs because of your experience. You see me? Listen, I've been in a relationship, man, and I remember having my SUV, and it wasn't, and with all the children collectively, right? There wasn't enough room unless you did my SUV. You couldn't do a sedan, right? So I wanted to make sure she got a brand new truck just the same as I did. She shouldn't have to wait for me to get home. That's no fair. She's already put in enough work. Why am I making her wait? Right. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, when you do stuff like that and when you have everything, man, know that there is going to be a component where not everybody's going to be happy for you, right? You cannot, if you're a woman with something or a man with something, don't go to somebody with nothing and ask for a pay. I love this when we were, and this is a thing to cater to the idea of surrender, right? I love it when, this was a sister was talking about that. And I think, let me just tell you, that's some women are astronomical across these social. I've been addicted to watching, like really just like modern and really aware women. And one of the things that this one sister said, she said she was talking to her girlfriend. Her girlfriend was telling her about her marriage, about surrendering and submission, right? Now, she said, she told me I wouldn't do all that for that man. And she says, and she told the girlfriend, she was an example. She said, you go to work, your boss tells you have to have that in by 5. You do it, don't you? Yes. She said, you go to the trash man, and he says, I'm not going to pick out your trash if you don't leave this a certain way, or a certain this. You still do it. Your children won't listen to you and tell you what they're not going to do. You're still a good mother to them, right? But when your husband tells you, hey, babe, I don't like that. When you do that, it makes me feel a certain way. And then you tell, and you don't. Then you want to argue with him. You'll comply with everybody else, right?
Wow, that's so true.
Right. Yeah. Which is why, and I always do. And I listen. I've always said I love it when Biggie says, no, it's Tupac that says, we all got our name from a woman, got our game from a woman. So why do we disrespect our women, right? I love it because this is what I grew up off. And people always say, oh, Chuck, you this, you man, you should do it. My views come from a hand of women. It was the women who were the matriarch in my family. So it's how I got who I am today, right? But I love it when she said that because the thing is, I always say this, and you can say, I'll tell you, listen, in dating now, I say, listen, if I'm not enough for any woman to step in or walk into her femininity, if my masculinity is not good enough to help you walk into your femininity, I'm not the one for you.
I think just explain that a little bit more, just for some people who don't get that what you're saying. So, if your masculinity is not enough for you to walk in your femininity, which
Right.
means like what my interpretation of that is, if you're not masculine enough or you're not man enough for the woman to feel safe enough to be a woman where she doesn't have to be the man in the relationship, if she can be the woman in a relationship and you can be the provider and protector, or the one who leads, right?
Mm-hmm.
And allowing her to feel comfortable enough to you know step into a femininity or be submissive or to follow.
Well, here's the thing. We all know that, and this is research has shown, especially for women, are providing, especially minority women, are providing greater opportunities than minority men, right? And that's just socially, that's just the way it is, right? So a lot of times there's a possibility where you're with someone and they're making as much or more than you, right?
The woman is.
The woman,
Right.
right? So my thing is that I don't need to flex my biblical proud, like my biblical definition of I don't need to flex the biblical definition of who I am, spiritual, mental, or emotional. Right? I am a man. I'm a dude with a good heart. Once you got me, you got me. I have cement bricks. Once I get cement, seriously, I got cement shoes. Once I'm planning in a situation,
Yeah,
that's
as long
why
as it's a good situation.
right.
Yeah.
And that's why I have to make sure for me, because what happens is I believe what you tell me and what you show me, right? So if what I see when we're together, right, matches what you say, I have a tendency, my good heart, right? I'm like, okay, babe, like we'll try this, and here's what I need from you, right? And it's very simple. I don't need very much, right?
Right.
I always
Most
say,
men don't need very
no,
much.
listen, F. This is three F's.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And for me, I'm just that simple. I don't care if you're the worst at something. I don't care if you can't cook. If I know you in that kitchen and you trying to make oatmeal for me for dinner, and you trying, I'm a good cook, so I don't need.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that you're making an effort, that I'm worth the effort for you. If you can't do certain things intimately, and I know you trying, you're like, baby, I know you know I'm not that good, but here you go. I am. That's for me. That feeds my ego more than anything, because I know that you're willing to do those things for me.
Right.
Right. So for me, I'm simple. I'm kind of like, babe, like, hey, I don't like the way you did this. This is the way, when you do this, it makes me feel this way.
Right. That's why you
Here's what I need, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't need to be like, yeah, chick, I done told you 13 times. I'm a man, a type of man. I don't function like that.
Right.
That's not me.
So I think getting back to our topic, not that we're off topic, but for why do some people beg for everything and settle for nothing? I think, and I'm gonna say this because I say this to you all the time.
Leading into that point.
Yeah, it is that people show you who they are. You just have to believe them. And so if they talking like that to you, then you know that individual is not coming from a place of positivity if he approaches that situation like that.
Yeah, hold on, but let me interject.
Yeah.
But that's the point I was trying to make. Some women feel as though that is the idea of masculinity.
Oh,
so
okay, gotcha.
What I was trying to separate myself is I'm not that. Right? I will tell you, babe, and if it gets too much, I'll be like, perhaps you need to go sit over here and relax for a minute, right?
Yeah.
But that is.
But you and I, because I know through counseling and through therapy that when we need to confront our spouses or our mates in something that can be seen as conflict, then you have to use you statements like I am, or I statements, meaning when this happens, I feel this way. It's not like you did something wrong, you did that, and then that's why I did that. It's like no. When you did that,
right? That's
how this is the way I felt.
Right.
And so, but not a lot of our people, especially men,
right,
go and have therapy and work on communications unless they're in a relationship, right? And it's got to be a really positive relationship where they can see that there's a future in that, because ain't no man just going to go with you to therapy if there's no future in that relationship. and vice versa. You know, I was talking to you about one of your friends, and I was like, why don't you just go to pre-dating counseling? And he was like, dude, I'm not doing that. Nah. And then just they want to date. I'm he's talking about this woman. She's an awesome woman, but she has issues, and I'm like, okay, well, why don't you go to counseling before you guys start dating? So he's like, totally no. But therapy and counseling helps people to learn to communicate, active listening, where you can hear what your partner is saying and validate what they're saying and say, okay, yeah, and you don't have to agree with them all the time, but there is a moment when there's got to be some conviction in you taking responsibility for your actions. Again. Right. Not a lot of our people or many people can do that because they've never been to counseling and they don't know how to confront conflict in that aspect or that manner. So you've done a lot of work. Like I've done a lot of work, you've done a lot of work. And so I think we as a people need to work on those things as far as how we communicate and like I said, if he's communicating with you how you said, just the whole, I told you such and such times, this is how I am. If he's communicating with you, then maybe if you guys are in a committed relationship or you married, if you married that dude that speaks to you like that, that's settling, right? That's the whole thing about settling for nothing. But, maybe you guys can try some counseling and find out how to communicate better because communication is the key, I believe.
Right, but here's the thing. That's the point that I was trying to make is that they will when you were saying about masculinity, they will conflate that idea or confuse that sense of man or manliness is masculinity. Because if I call you, listen, I always tell any girl if I did, right? If I ever use the B word, I am irritated. Because that's not in my vocabulary.
Right.
Right? Like, it was only one way I would use that if you mistreat my kids, or you just totally like disrespectful to me. Because that to a point, and it's not that I ever excuse it, right? But that's just not the way I function. Like I want you to feel like the woman you are so that I can be the man that I am, right? Because ultimately I want to get my goal in life is to get everything under one roof. Right? Okay. So I'm not a dude who likes running the streets. I don't like the cheating. And even being single, I tell shorties like, look, and they get it confused. I'm like, listen, I like to talk. I like to take one thing at a time. I'm good. Like, I'll see where it is. So that sometimes gives them the idea, oh, he wants a relationship with me. I don't. Right. And not right now. Not at this point. I don't know you. Right. Right. But I like to give the attention to where I'm at. Because if you give me attention to 3 or 4 things, right, you can't really see certain things if you're not really taking the time to look for or to look at them. You know what I mean? Like, you can't possibly, if it's easier for me if somebody says, where's Waldo? And he's hiding behind one woman, then it's 4 women and I'm trying to find Waldo. Like, I don't know where's the magic. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, they confuse that idea of masculinity. Like, so the thing is that somehow if I'm telling you, like, shorty, like, perhaps, I tell you what, I can't get you to really listen. You're not doing well. I've asked you. I told you this really hurts me when you do this. So I tell you what, just for a couple of days, I'm just going to just stay where you at, and I'll stay where I'm at. Right, and that's the thing, because I'm not going to argue with you. I done already told you, but somehow, when I had a woman tell me that I needed you to call me and be like, "Bitch, you acting up." No, I don't talk like that. I'm not doing that. I told you 4 times, like, yo, what you doing is hurtful. I'm not doing that.
Right. It seems like if we as men don't get angry and don't get loud, then what we're really trying to express doesn't come across as important. So when we tell you calmly in a way that we can communicate to you, you don't hear that. Like, they typically don't hear that. It's when you get loud and there's an altercation and then there's word name calling and there is really some verbal abuse in there. Then it's remembered. But as humans, we don't remember the times when, like, I told you last week, I told you the week before, calmly. I told you the week prior to that, and so you continue to do the same behavior that I'm asking you not to do. And it's only when I become really agitated and irritated and angry and become loud that it really sinks in that, okay, I should not do that or treat him that way. Why does it have to be that way?
Well, like I said, some women, when they have it, right? See, some women when they have I'm gonna make this kind of clear, right? Some women when they have this, right, they have it, they have it. Like there's some women out there that you can't go near them or their relationship. They won't allow their girlfriend talk. They're very protective. They're very insightful about their relationship. Now for y'all, I'm not talking about y'all. I don't want a bunch of emails about or comments to say, you don't know, I've been married with JoJo for 30 years and we worked through stuff. I get it. We're not talking about you. If you have everything and you appreciate everything, there's no need to talk about nothing. But for those women who have everything and think that they're the prize, remember, the Bible looks at it as we are a gift to one another. And if you think you're the only prize, that's a problem. Because then I am never treated as well. And I'm spending my life pleasing you. And there's no pleasure to be reciprocated from me. Like, so what I'm saying is, and I'm not saying that, so I'm not talking about those group of women. And I'm also talking about, in this thing, we talk about like giving and receiving. We talk about relationships, right? And we talk about like a woman that has everything. I'm serious. There's just some women that have it, and you sit there. Like I said, I listen to nurses. They're like, yeah, he thinks, and I'm like, and the idea. Some of them look at it like, my husband always want to fuck all the time, this, that, and the other. As if being married means that he should sign up for less pussy. Like, I don't understand that. I'm serious. I never understand that, because for us, for men, that release and that connectivity is very important to us.
It's dopamine.
Yeah,
and dopamine.
It's dope too.
It's dopamine. So
right.
When we get that release of dopamine, we feel good. It's the joy chemical, right? It's the we feel good about ourselves. We feel good about our women. We feel good about our relationship. We feel good about our jobs. We can go out and conquer the world with that dopamine fix. And a lot of things bring that out, but for men, most of the time, it is sex and intimacy.
What I would tell you is that.
So you were talking about like men signing up for less intimacy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I will tell you this, it's not the case. It's kind of like, you are my super strength. Like when I go home, look at me as a Tesla or electric car, and you're my charge. I don't need to go to any other charging station because it takes too long. It's not my home station, and I'm not going to get charged the same way. I want to go home to get recharged. You know what I mean? Like, I want to always return to my home base. I know I can go anywhere, but you're my station. This is where I belong. This is where I feel refreshed. I can sit overnight. I can relax. I'm in no rush because this is where I belong. You know what I mean? And I just look at some women just looked at it like, that so confuses me. Like, if I'm in a relationship, I tell you, like, here's what I need, and it's not necessarily.
But why then are they, for those women who are critical of their men wanting to be intimate with them often? A lot of times, if they find that their spouse has found someone else to take care of that need for them because their wives don't want to or do it begrudgingly. And when you do it, we can tell.
Yeah.
Like, we know that it's a chore for you and not really something that is very pleasing or something that you want. And when that happens, we don't feel wanted and we don't feel pursued and we don't feel really loved. Sure, we'll take it just because we need that dopamine fix. But why, when they find out that, okay, yeah, their husband stepped out on their marriage and found someone that would take care of that need when they didn't want to and wasn't very upfront, or they don't like, why are they so upset at that point? I get it that you feel like he cheated on you and he became physically attached to another woman. What if he didn't come emotionally attached to that woman? He's still emotionally attached to you, but he had to step out, or not he had to, but he did, because he couldn't take the fact that he wasn't receiving the love at home. And coming from a biblical standpoint, I understand that we aren't to do that as husbands and or wives, but we also are human beings. We are sinners. We have needs, and when our needs aren't really being met, typically there's a lot of temptation out there that some people will succumb to, and I understand it. I understand it, and the Bible talks about not not having sex unless you both agree upon it, because the Bible talks about there is temptation out there. Like, the Bible's telling you, don't not have sex because this is what can potentially happen. And people read and learn aspects of the Bible, but then they don't quote or they don't hear those type of stories. Like, when I talked about this before, the church doesn't talk about Song of Solomon a lot of times. The church doesn't preach on sex and intimacy and how important that is in a relationship and the bonding that it does for you. And so when women are begrudgingly providing intimacy or not providing intimacy for their husbands, it's a very difficult and sad and lonely place for them. And when you're in that place, you can succumb to temptation. It's only human that it happens. Jesus was tempted. Man is going to be tempted. And so your husband is not Jesus, so he's not perfect. So, and in a lot of cases, there will be some infidelity. If the man, depending upon the strength of that individual, and you don't have to be. You can be strong and still succumb to it.
Yeah, but see, I don't. I just believe that this is and I could be arrogant. I mean, I could be. I was not arrogant. I could be naive, right? But I haven't believed that there's no reason, right? Because I just think that everything that if you getting married, you say, this is my partner, this is the person I could talk to, I can walk with, I can get through it. And I know that that's not always an easy task, right? But I just believe that any two people have to take an agreement to each other, right? That if you're tempted or something's bothering you, and I have been in a relationship, and provided the fact that, my wife died, we were together 12 years, and I lost her to cancer, and I tried a relationship afterwards. But in any relationship I've ever been in, I always tell, hey, babe, like, this is hard for me, right? And I'm going somewhere with this. I remember the greatest thing for me when my wife died, right, was the sex was hard, right, being without, because of the cancer and everything. But the hardest thing for me was her touch. When I lost her, when she couldn't touch me because her skin was so frail and the nerves in her hand, she couldn't rub it. I never noticed how much she rubbed my hair, rubbed my chest, had her hand on my back, was on my chest until I lost it. Yeah. And I thought I would break over the sex. I was like, this is, and once she told me we had agreed, this is a sacrifice we have to make, hon. Okay. But it was the touch that drove me crazy, because when she couldn't do that. And I remember one time when last couple months I just fell asleep on her shoulder, and she couldn't take it because she's like, even the weight of what you're above your neck was like hurt. Yeah, hurt. Because she was like frail, right? Yeah. And I remember just like continuing having those breaking moments, right? And then I remember getting in a relationship after that, and I remember the one thing that we were going back and forth about other stuff we weren't agreeing, right? And I was very honest. I said, listen, we can argue, we're not in a good space. I said, I'll take this and we'll walk through this. Whatever this is, let me know, right? But when you not touching me, it sends me into a very dark place. Mm-hmm. She looked at me and was like, basically, that's not my fault. Okay. So it's
take care.
Right. Yeah. And so it's acknowledging the faults you do with your partners, right? And I'm not saying, and I didn't go do nothing, right? I thought to myself, but it put me in a very dark place, and I was like, I either gotta see somebody, start talking to somebody, because I don't know where to put this, because, you know what I mean? Like, this is hard for me. So I turned, what are you doing?
I'm looking at this thing because now it's the chicken thing is blinking, and so why is it doing that? See, so now we're gonna have chicken clucking in the daggone thing because this Rode Podcaster Pro 2 is just going off, and I have to send this back. So I can see that. I can see the button going on. going off, and I'm like, why is that thing blinking? Because the last time we had crickets.
This
right?
dude putting chickens in.
So that's why I have 2 mics or 3 mics here, so we can have some backup audio for our audience. But sorry, I was just distracted by that. But I think with the topic being just settling for relationships that we really have no business being in,
and I won't do that. I'd soon rather stay alone. And and someone said because you got hurt, and I said no, it's because of the healing that I had, right?
Right, and
Which
so
is why I'd rather be alone, because
right.
I love myself, who I am, and what I have to give.
So I think like a question like one of the first questions you should be asking somebody when you go out on their first date is, have you been to therapy? And if they say no, they say no, then you just walk out. Listen, because I mean, there's so many broken people out. We're all broken, right? But the most important thing is if we're working on ourselves and our stuff, and yes, you can do that without therapy, but
I was going to say, because I don't believe that therapy solves everything. Because it doesn't. Some people get through.
I mean, some people are just really good people without it. Like they've had a good upbringing. They haven't had much pain in their lives. The relationships that they have been good for them, and they've been good in them. It just didn't work out for whatever reason. But for those individuals, which is probably. This is why dating is so hard, right? Because you run into these women, and I haven't dated in a long time because I've been married for 20 years. But you run into people being single that just are not good people.
Yeah, but what I run into, which is a lot of people assume I've done enough and had enough experiences and been through so much in my life. I'm okay with being alone. And so a lot of females don't understand that. I really am. And I always tell female, like, if I'm one day good, if I'm good being by myself, don't you think I'd be just as convicted to be with you if I should choose? So my thing is that you should learn to love a person more is okay being by himself, because I don't have the same codependencies or need. And I always say this. I've said this and I've posted this and I've said this to friends, and friends who know me said I always look at myself as like a lion with camel-like tendencies. And what does that mean? Means is that I can go a long way, right? And I come with my own reserve. So I don't need as much as other people. I don't thirst the way other people do. So I can go long periods without anything, right? Others can't. So they need something. So even if they're as ferocious as a lion, they have no reserves. After they eat, 2 days later, they need something else. I don't have that. I'm good. I can go without. I'm good. If it's just me, my littles, and we're back here, we're having games on the deck and doing it, I'm satisfied with that. So anything extra, and that irritates a lot of females, because they're like, well, I want you to come over Saturday. No, I got game with my game night with my kids on Saturday. And they don't understand that. Well, why can't you afterwards come? Because I want to snuggle and watch a movie with them. They don't get that. That to them is dead. It's like he don't want to do anything. No.
You don't want to be with me.
Right. Yeah. No, how about I want to be with them, and on my time that I have to myself, I will be with you. But I'm not going to be with you on their time. Right. And I don't understand that, because
until you become close enough where you can include everybody's time.
Well, I don't see that happen. My kids have been.
Why? Because everybody, all these women are so broken.
Yeah, my littles have been through so much.
My point exactly.
Yeah, my littles have been through so much, and then they got to deal with big old gorilla over top of them every time, and then I'm introducing them to a she gorilla. No thank you.
So here's a little, when you said the whole lion and the camel thing, right? Mm-hmm. But you're also the protector as a lion, right? You protect her, and then as a camel. Camels do what for long distance? Not only do they have their reserves, but they carry.
Right.
And they carry.
Right. That's exactly what carry. And they harbor the water in their reserves.
Yeah, but they carry through really harsh environments. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So you're a lion. You're the protector. Mm-hmm. You can carry, and you you can be alone or you have reserve. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's a pretty good analogy. And for just to validate you as a brother and what you said earlier in the program where you said that you give your all and you're there and you when that person has kids, like you love them as well as their kids. Like I've seen it like in him. I've been a client of his for a few years. We've just now over the past year got close, but I've come to his house to shoot his family when he was in a relationship with another woman. Her kids moved into his house, and he loved on them like they were his own kids, and he did that, and I saw that. So in him and with him, and so he's not just saying these things just to impress upon you. He has actually done it and experienced with it. So yeah, yeah.
No, and sure, and also with you, I watch you with your children, and you just like effortlessly like do all the things you do. I'm like, dude, half the stuff you do, I'm like, dude, how? When do you have time to do that?
Well, that's when I'm not calling you back or texting.
Yeah.
Or texting our group chat
Right.
back. I'm just like,
right. No. I'm in Lancaster somewhere at a business conference. No. I'm here with this. No, I'm in. I'm out with my kids out in New York somewhere. You know.
And we were talking about this, and this is off topic, off subject. But I was at my networking group this morning, and we were talking about just the balance between your business and your family. And you know, my family comes first. So my 4 F's are faith, family, fitness, and finance. Without my faith, I don't have anything. And then my family is a close second. My wife and then my kids. And then fitness, working out and riding bikes and just taking care of my body because I won't be able to enjoy my finances if I don't have any of those things. I'll be alone with no spirituality and no God,
right?
and no help. Like so, I don't understand people do it, but they do it, and that's why we're our state of dude, our youth are crazy. They're running around here. I see this stuff on TikTok and YouTube. But I'm sorry, that was off topic. But getting back to just I guess it would be. I think this topic goes along with you being able to be a good judge of character and picking a good man or a good woman and not just settling. Like I think we get into these relationships and we get comfortable and people show us who they really are and we're like, oh, that's not really them. Oh, I can forget that or I can forgive that behavior. But I hope I hope they change. I hope she changes, and they don't. And then it's okay. Well, I need to continue to forgive, or for that same type of behavior, even though I'm explaining to them that that's hurtful. And it's the whole camel, like in that treacherous environment, carrying. And yes, if you're married and you've been dealing with this for a long time, counseling is a great place to start. But if you're just dating, then maybe it's time to just sit down, settle down, take a breather, take a rest, and really look at the future and where this could potentially go. When my wife called me to start dating and we went on our first date, I said to her, I said, "What is this about? Because I'm not interested in just dating another woman." I was at the time in my life where I wanted to be in a committed relationship. I wanted to start finding my wife. Huh?
You asked for the commitment?
This is my first date. I told her I didn't want to just be dating. Like I wanted to find my wife. I wanted to find. I told her that, like I was later on in years and had been dating a lot of different women in college, and so I was ready to settle down and start my family, and so that's what I told her. She was kind of on the same mindset. My wife called me like out of the blue. We grew up together. My wife was a few years older than me. Had a crush on her when I was a kid, but the age gap was too big. So when I graduated and a few years after that, she called me and I was like, yeah, it sounds good. Let's get to know each other. But I was ready to settle down and be committed and to have kids and to raise a family. And what I'm saying to those individuals out there, if that person is not where you are, if you want to just have fun and that's on you, just try to strap up or have some protection because we got too many single mothers and fathers running around here not taking care of the kids because we've been irresponsible when it comes to our sexual partners, right? That's why abortion is the way it is, right? Because we don't want to have children by those individuals that we slept with. So if you don't want to have that, you can prevent that, right? But yeah, pick that individual carefully. Like interview that person, get to know that person before you lay with them. Get to know them. And the Bible says Adam knew Eve, like before you know them that way. Make sure that person is someone who you can spend the rest of your life with.
Okay. And in the meantime, don't ask for everything unless you're ready for it. And I always tell people this, and I love it when the pastors say this in church. Be ready for the things that you pray for, right? Don't ask God for everything and you're worth nothing. And don't be worth something and begging for everything but accept nothing or accept less. I was still saying this, and I'll never understand it, that the people who have everything take so much for granted. And then there are people who have nothing, or you have a partner who has nothing, is begging for this person to give them everything, but will stay in something that's not on their level. Find what is for you. Find the place that is for you. Pray for it. Go after it. Live it and enjoy it. And remember, taking something for granted is the worst thing you can do. If you have a man or woman,
a person, your spouse or your significant other,
right? Because I once had a girl tell me, yeah, he does this, gets on my nerves. He leaves the toilet seat up. Okay, that's irritating. But does he cheat?
Sinbad said, what do you walk in the bathroom backwards? you ain't got two arms and two legs. You can't put the toilet seat down. Or do you just back up into the toilet without looking at it?
No, but my thing is that, and I asked, I said, does he cheat? No. Is he home? Yes. Does he date you and court you? Yes. But these things drive me crazy. You have all of the things that a man does. He provides. And here, as her husband, she admits that, puts all of his money in their account and takes $100 a week for himself. And she's still complaining. Like, I just don't get, and I had a conversation with her, and I was just like, she was like, you would say that as a man, and I want a man. And I'm like, okay, did you marry perfection, or did you marry this man? And do you have children? Yeah, my sons are just like him. And I said, but what did you love about him to marry? I love this, I love this. So what's changed now? This man is exactly who he was when she married him.
Probably much better.
Right, yeah. But now puts down a toilet seat and sacrifices himself for the family. I just think that be prepared, be ready for what you're asking for, man, and just know that do not compare your something with those who have nothing. Stop doing that. If you listen, love your friends, right? But I acknowledge that there are certain friends that I won't even have a conversation with, right? And I tell my friends who are married, and I tell Shawn, if he's frustrated, I listen. I don't give advice. I'm not qualified. I am not under the protection and coverage of a marriage. I have no authority to speak in a married man's life. I know my position. And because that man has everything, I don't want my little bit of something to affect his everything. And I'm okay with that. And so some people need to put themselves in their shoes. You know what I mean? If Shawn would ever come to my house to rant about anything, I would listen and send his ass back home. Because that is what you do when you celebrating your friends where they're at.
Well, that's a whole nother episode, is picking friends and having good friends, good godly friends.
No, the Bible says iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah.
So it's like seek ye wise counsel. So if you are yet in abundance of fools, you are yet yourself the next to be a fool. I'm serious, and people just don't get that. I watch old heads talk on the corner, man, and they, you gotta make this chick behave.
Talking foolishly.
Yeah, I gotta be 2 days. You give her 2 days without me and disappear, and then these young guys are listening to them. But most of these guys, personality disorder, schizophrenic, bipolar, they have all sorts of personality disorders, and
they giving advice.
Right, and they giving advice, and you're taking it because it sounds cool.
So here, I wanted to say this to you because I was smiling when you were talking about the whole toilet seat, right? It would be more irritating for men because we gotta walk in there and then put the toilet seat.
Right.
You know, we just can't whip it out and just piss on the toilet seat, like, because that would kind of be like, yo, why didn't you put the toilet seat up? No, I had to really go to the bathroom, dude. Why can't you put the toilet seat up when you leave the bathroom?
Yeah, and listen, if I'm making it in the hole, right? Celebrate.
That's totally off.
The toilet hole, toilet. If I get it in the hole and I'm not pissing around the rim, you should just clap for me when I come out the bathroom.
Let's put the toilet seat up. How about we start a movement? We're gonna put the toilet seat up. About time men stand up. We're gonna ask our wives and women to put the toilet seat up.
No, I ain't got.
See how much they care about us. See
how caring I am. Don't leave the toilet seat up. Take the lid off the top of the toilet. And I'm peeing that because that's.
All right, so getting back on topic, we got a couple of minutes left before the end of the show, so we're gonna,
hit.
We got a hit?
No, I got a hit.
You got a hit?
Yeah.
You gotta go?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so we can end it. All right, we gotta go right now. What time is it? It's 11:46, dude. We gotta go. All right. Thank you guys for listening to us once again. This is Moment of Men. Stand by for our next episode, and we'll figure out a topic then. Peace.
Yeah.